Well, if it isn't my beautiful film club people, how you doing? It's me and Groot. You're here. If this is your very first time, you're here with me, Carson Higgins, our host, if you want, for our Filmstruck Film Club. Filmstruck doesn't exist anymore, and that's okay. We'll probably change the name someday. But in the meantime, we are a weekly film club where I am usually the guy who picks a movie that we're going to watch for the week. And this week we watched 1996's classic, The Daytrippers. It was a film feature debut by Greg Mottola, who wrote and directed this film. You've definitely seen a movie of his if you've seen Superbad, because he directed that. He didn't write that film, but he did direct it. And maybe you've seen him. He's a beautiful, cue-balled, glasses-wearing, adorable man. And he wrote and directed the shit out of this movie in 1996. I gotta say, I picked it because it was our Thanksgiving weekend pick. And I didn't even know that this was going to happen. But in the very first scene, Stanley Tucci and Hope Davis, who I'll get to the cast in a second, but they're on their way from a Thanksgiving dinner. And so I was like, look at that. I wanted to put on a family film for us for this week for Thanksgiving. And it worked out perfectly. So I will say, this movie has an all-star cast. I already mentioned Stanley Tucci, Hope Davis, Liev Schreiber's in this movie, Parker Posey's in this movie, Campbell Scott, Ann Mira, which is Ben Stiller's mother, if you've ever seen her, and her husband Jerry. They're a comic duo from back in the day. Pat McNamara, and a wonderful cameo, I guess, scene towards the end by Marcia Gay Harden. It's really just a knockout cast of 90s indie actors. And then you have these throwback actors as well who really rounded out the ensemble cast. This film was made for no money. I say that in Hollywood terms because they did spend $50,000 on this movie, but in Hollywood terms, they made this movie for no money. They shot it in 17 days, and a lot of the scenes, from what I understand, the camera crew didn't know where the actors' marks were going to be, because the actors didn't know where their marks were going to be, because though there was this brilliantly written screenplay, there was a lot of room for improvisation and some really wonderful scenes where the whole family's in the car, and you just see it seems so tight and cramped in this car. But the film that they wound up coming out of this 17-day shoot with was really kind of awesome. It kind of seemed like the precursor to Little Miss Sunshine, Juno, even Garden State a little bit, but these like ultra low budget indie movies that became a little more commonplace, I guess, once these people in the 90s started knocking them out. The Steven Soderberghs, Richard Linklaters, these people, once they were knocking out these movies and doing really well at Sundance and SlamDance. I believe this film, somebody Google this for me, but I think this was the first winner of SlamDance Film Festival. It was also in the Cannes Film Festival over in France. So this film did get its moment in the sun a little bit. Its measly $50,000 budget did get turned into a $2 million gross. So they made a decent amount of money on this film, which is really cool. And so let's just get into what it is a little bit. I had seen on the Criterion Channel this film was on here, and I think just the poster for it seemed to catch my eye. It's kind of that cute drawn poster that perhaps you've seen. But I read the synopsis, and it was a family, a tight-knit Long Island family, and Hope Davis finds a letter, seemingly like a love letter, written maybe to her husband, Stanley Tucci. So she and he has gone off into the city for the day. She goes over to her family's house to talk to her mom about this letter she found, and her sister Parker Posey's there, and her boyfriend or husband, I couldn't fully figure that one out, Liev Schreiber. These people are all there, and they basically see this letter, and they go, well, we got to go confront him. So they go into the city to find him and to ask him about this letter, and that's the film. It's this one-day-long trip into the city where we go to find Stanley Tucci and confront him about this letter. And of course, along the way, hijinks ensues. The car has issues with the heater, and it's a cold winter day. Uh, Anne Mira's character faints at one point, and they go into the apartment of these strangers, and finding out their dynamic in the home is interesting, and how they interact with these strangers. We go to a couple diners and coffee, and these moments are all kind of stringing us along till the eventual sighting of Stanley Tucci and this confrontation at the end. Um, Very humorous movie, but not super laugh out loud funny all the time, which is okay. It really has kind of a European sense of humor, which a lot of these, maybe you think I'm an asshole for thinking this, but I find that a lot of these super low budget kind of guerrilla style 90s independent films bear a lot of likeness to European films, because these guys were heavily influenced by, if not European filmmakers, American filmmakers who were vastly influenced by these European filmmakers. So it has a lot of that DNA in it. I love how they definitely didn't get permits to shoot this movie. It's kind of like, I think that's probably the reason why this movie kind of has staying power, because there's things about it that don't work and don't age well, and this movie would be 5 minutes long if it took place in 2020, because she would have found the letter, looked on Instagram or something, and been able to figure out who Sandy was. Like it just would have been much easier. Googling an address, calling, texting, like this whole movie is done in 5 minutes if it takes place now, which is partly why it's kind of fun to revisit. And for me, visiting for the first time, I had never seen Daytrippers before. I don't know if you had, but it does have this very exciting quality of a group of people who all really wanted to make something and had the opportunity to make something that they believed in, and just picked up a camera and went and shot it. Greg Mottola wrote a screenplay that he decided he wanted to write something that he could film at his parents' apartment on the streets of New York, and then at Liev Schreiber's apartment. and so he wrote a screenplay that served that perfectly. And then there was this great station wagon that also has quite a bit of the scenes are all in this car, where Pat McNamara, who plays the dad, did all the driving. They didn't have a tow truck whipping him around. It was like a lot of the things that they got away with in this movie, you really kind of can't get away with anymore. It's not if you want to use union actors or a union crew or anything. This crew seemed so bare bones. It looked like it was a sound guy and a camera, and then these 5 or 6 actors, and that's all you really need. You don't need a whole lot else other than that. They're all wearing the same costumes the whole time. It's all one day. You have this great score too. There's this beautiful, like, kind of Spanish guitar. I wrote his name down. Richard Martinez. Good job, Rich. You made a perfect score for this movie. It was just like it never became overbearing. It always just kind of supported what was going on, and yeah. So now we are at the part where there's going to be a huge spoiler. So if you haven't watched the movie, I do not want to give this away to you. I will say, before I watched this movie, I was on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was actually like super mad, because Rotten Tomatoes, they usually only give like a little sentence, a little summation of like what that critic said. And I'm looking at these, and one of those little blurbs fully gives away the ending. And it's like kind of a twist ending. You don't see it coming, or at least they did a really good job of misleading the audience to think a certain way, so that by the time the reveal does happen, you're perhaps shocked. Maybe you would have been more shocked in 1996, to be honest. We're gonna go for it. So we've been looking for this woman Sandy all day, the writer of this love note. We come to find out that Sandy is a man, and that Stanley Tucci has been having about a year-long affair with this man, Sandy. And we find that out. There is a confrontation between Hope Davis and Stanley Tucci, where he kind of says his piece, and she says, like, I'm done. And her family tries to get her in the car and protect her. And the mom, of course, is being very, very protective. And she decides to get out of the car and run away. And so Hope Davis and Parker Posey link up as sisters and just kind of run off into the night. And that's the end of the movie. And so I kind of was like, oh, we don't get like one more scene. I felt like it was kind of an abrupt ending, and they were really kind of leaning on this twist ending that, you know, they're gonna send you out back into the lobby being like, I can't believe it was a dude. And I guess along the lines of like, had they had Instagram or something, this movie would be 5 minutes long. Also, yes, you know, I'm sure in their relationship, I'm sure that, and she has every right to be upset for him cheating on her. But the way that they handle his homosexuality and this affair that's been happening, and the fact that like that's it, here's the twist, and now you're done. It did feel a little less than ideal. There was maybe one scene more that could have kind of tied it up a little bit more for me. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. And if you get a chance to watch it on the Criterion Channel, there's a great little round table. It was Greg Mottola, Liev Schreiber, and Parker Posey sitting around just a couple years ago, doing like a, 20 years later or whatever about the Daytrippers for the Criterion edition. And it's a really great interview to watch after you watch this film. Just hearing these people who have gone on to, work a ton, talking very highly about their experience on set making the Daytrippers and how much it meant to them and how much the relationships that they formed and the friendships that were made, how they have lasted, and these people all just think very fondly on this film. So it's, if nothing else, it's a really nice little time capsule to see some of these fantastic 90s indie all-star actors in, one of their first things. Greg Mottola making the movie for no money in no time is also very inspiring. It kind of makes you feel like you should just pick up a camera and go make a movie. Infinitely easier nowadays with this here device that I'm making this on. So look at that. But yeah, that's our movie for the week. So I hope you got a chance to watch the Daytrippers, and if you haven't, it is a great, winter autumnal film. So if you get a chance anytime to watch it, go ahead and throw it on. You won't hate it, I don't think. But yeah, Groot and I are off. We're gonna go pick another movie for us, so we'll have that up tomorrow. If you want to keep up with all of our weekly picks and everything, you just got to follow us at Filmstruck Film Club on Facebook and Instagram. Be sure to like and comment, subscribe here on the YouTube channel. Every week we're going to be talking about a different movie, so feel free to stick around and watch them with us and be a part of the discussion. Feel free to shoot me a comment or a message if there's a movie or a filmmaker you want to discover or revisit or whatever. I would love to be a part of that with you. So I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed the movie, and look forward to seeing you next week. Keep it real, y'all.